welcome to Meet the Experts. And today I am on with the Sara Fung. She is Canadian's nurse advocate. She is fierce advocate for nurses all around the world. And she is on. We get to know a little bit more about her. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me. I love doing these types of things, nurses talking to other nurses and learning from each other.
Absolutely. And we get to know you. You're such a valuable person and you have so much gems that you're always given. If you're not connected to Sarah, please connect with her on LinkedIn because she has so many gems to share. But today I wanted to just do some rapid fire questions, just getting to know you. And I'm just going to start off by saying, for healthcare, what do you think the future of healthcare, what is going to look like in the next 10, 20 years?
Yeah, I think we're at a really interesting point in healthcare, right? Because everyone's talking about tech and AI and all these things. And I think there is a huge benefit to using tech. Well, for one example, I know that with nurses and charting, right? That's like the bane of our existence. It is very time consuming, but so important. So, where I see that changing is with tech and with AI. And then on the other hand, I see that we are really going to be valuing the human connection between nurses and their patients because I posted recently about what makes nursing nursing. And I
Mm,
think it's the part that can't be taken over by AI. And that's
mm.
really the connection that we make, the relationships we have with our patients. That's not going away. So I see it in some ways, we're really going to be leaning into tech to make our work easier. And in other ways, we're really going to be relying on the face to face human connection that only we can provide to our patients. I think there's a lot of other issues as well, but those are the two that I can see right now at the forefront.
I love it, Sarah. You know, how can nurses position themselves to influence and advocate using tech?
Oh, that is such a good question. Well, I think the way that I started to build my platform and my influence is really just by experimenting, right? And not being
Hmm.
shy to speak up, using social media to my advantage. So I don't know about you, but what I was taught in nursing school is that social media is bad, that you shouldn't
Yes.
be on social media. You don't
Hmm.
want to get your patients in trouble. You don't want to post confidential information. Like all of that stuff is what I was taught. And it made me afraid to use social media. I was told, don't add your patients on Facebook, don't do any of this. But I didn't realize that there is a good side to social media too. And there's no barrier to entry, right? So we think about like, oh, we need permission to do this and do that. I think if you're advocating for healthcare in general, for nursing, for better working conditions, for example, anybody can do that, right? You are not
Yes.
doing anything that's unprofessional. You're not saying anything that someone doesn't already know. So what I would say is just start posting and make posts that are original content and position yourself as a thought leader. And in that way, people are going to start noticing, right? They're going to want to follow you because they want to learn something or they want to become inspired. And if you feel comfortable even doing things like a podcast, like either
Yes.
going on a podcast or creating your own podcast, again, putting content out there that is going to be valuable for people listening. So I think in that sense, you can use tech. It doesn't necessarily have to be something like creating your own app, although I do think that is really cool. There are so many things that you can do as a nurse, and as long as you're willing to learn and make little mistakes along the way, I think there's room for everyone on platforms and using tech.
Yes, I love it, Sarah. I love it. And how long have you been using it? Just for our viewers' curiosity.
How long have I been on social media?
On social media? Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been on social media for personal, just kind of posting for a long time. Like, I think when Facebook first came out in 2005,
Oh,
I was like, I'm getting an account. I just
oh,
wanted to see what was out there. But in terms of what you might be talking about is just
mhm.
professionally creating content, I would say maybe around 2019, 2020. Like a lot of nurses, I felt like there was a space and a place for nurses during the pandemic. A lot of people were asking what nurses thought about certain things, and I use that opportunity to really create more of a professional presence on LinkedIn and on other platforms. Like I was experimenting with Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I have a TikTok channel. It's not use that much, but I'm always wanting to see, what resonates with people. What do they want to learn more about? How can I help people? And I just somehow landed on LinkedIn because I feel like there's a really supportive community there. It's how you
Mhm.
and I found each other. And
Yes.
so I've been kind of building, I guess, since 2020, but not really taking it seriously until probably last year, where I was like, you know what? I think of all the platforms, this is the one that works for me the best. It's the one that I feel the most comfortable with. And so just knowing that I can just put something out there and so many people will see it. And even days, weeks, or months later, people are still finding that content and finding it valuable. So I guess it's been a few years now, although it doesn't feel that way. It feels like time has just gone by. And I think when you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't feel like that much work.
Yes, and if you ever interact with Sarah's content, it's so inspiring. You can that ability to really resonate with someone's content, where you speak like a nurse's nurse. You speak where any nurse can look at your post and say, "Oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one who was feeling this." But not you take them from, "Hey, I'm feeling this," to, "What do I do about it? How do I speak?
Hmm.
How do I advocate? How do I assert myself in the marketplace?" So definitely, I mean, you have really put yourself in social media on a positive aspect. So I thank you for that, Sarah. I,
Oh,
I
you're
want
welcome. Yeah.
I wanted to just pick your brain, Sarah. If time and money was not an obstacle, or bureaucracy, if that was not an obstacle, how would you fix healthcare?
That is such a good question. And I think I was thinking about this on and off leading up to this podcast, and something that popped into my mind, which sounds crazy. I know this sounds crazy, but wouldn't it be awesome if we could provide one-to-one care to our patients? Like if resource was no object, I would love if I only had one patient that I could dedicate all my time to, and just everything and anything they needed, I would be there for them. And as a patient, I think I would really like that too, right? Because as a
Mhm,
patient, you don't want to be bothering your nurse. You can see that they're busy.
mhm,
You can see they have a
mhm.
hundred things on the go. But if you knew that they were only there for you, I think you would feel much more at ease to ask them questions and ask them for anything that you needed. So that was something that I just want to put out there. And I think there's a lot of other things that people might say, but honestly, just thinking about the connection, like we talked about, the human touch, I really think that would solve a lot of problems. Maybe not all of them, but that would solve a lot of them.
Oh, I love this. Personal nursing. I love it. I love it. I have just a lot of people come onto LinkedIn, and this is going to be aired on LinkedIn. So if you had to tell the younger Sarah Fung what some advice when you're starting off in nursing, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say that you don't have to do what everybody tells you you have to do. So when I graduated nursing, everybody said to me, you need to get a job in med surg. Med surg is the best place to be where you can learn your skills. And I heard what people were saying, but it didn't resonate with me. And I felt nervous because I was having this sort of internal struggle where I did my final consolidation in labor and delivery, and I wanted to work with moms and babies. And it was something that was really enjoyable to me. So for then to hear that I needed to go to med surge, it was almost like it didn't feel right to me. And I still hear of nurses being told that they have to go to med surge. And listen, I've got nothing against med surge. I think it is a great area if you want to be there. I have talked to nurses though that did what I thought I had to do, which is give up a specialty or not do something because of what someone told you you had to do, and then missed out on a really great opportunity and have had regrets and have had troubles getting back to their area of interest. And so I think it's really about, like, especially in this day and age, information is everywhere about all the different opportunities available to nurses. So I think it's really important to think about what is important to you, and are you doing something for yourself or because someone told you that you had to. Also, I don't think that everything should be so tied to your years of experience. I think as a new grad, you already have a lot of skills and experience, and it's up to you to continue developing that and not think that you have to, do 10 or 15 years and follow a certain path because you think that's the only way to get somewhere.
Good advice. I agree with you, Sarah. Now, if you could redo one choice in your nursing career, what would it be?
Oh, one thing that the thing is I don't believe in having regrets because I feel like although I've struggled, all the struggle helped me to be where I am today. But if
Mhm.
I had to pick something, I guess it would just be to trust myself a little more and be more confident in my abilities and also speak up more. So I don't know. I think that I was always sort of the one that would just I didn't want to cause conflict. I know this is very common among nurses. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to challenge anyone. We just want to go with the flow and avoid conflict. And I think if I could go back, it would be to speak up a little bit more, advocate for myself a little bit more and what I need, and not worry so much about what other people think. Because the truth is, especially going on LinkedIn, there's always going to be that one person that doesn't agree with what you say, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't keep doing what you're doing. So just know that there's always going to be someone that likes what you're doing. There's always going to be someone who doesn't. And you need to be true to yourself. And if you're not sure what to do, then it's okay to ask for help. But if you know what the right thing is and you're being challenged by someone, it's okay to, you know, assert yourself and make sure that you know you're doing the right thing.
Really, really great advice. You know, what's a tip? Because you give a lot of tips, but what's one tip that you would give to a nursing student or a new grad so that they could have longevity in their career?
When I graduated nursing school, burnout was not a term we talked about. Self care was not something we talked about. We were always taught to care for patients and that sort of thing. I never honestly heard the term self care until probably the pandemic. So I was like, self care? What's that? Is it doing things like yoga? Is it like going on
Yes,
vacation? So I think I think
getting your nails
self
done.
care, get your nails done, and I do all those things, right? But
Yeah.
self-care can look different to different people, and it's not that one is better than the other. So people say, watching Netflix, scrolling your phone is not self-care. Well, it might be self-care to somebody, and it might be all they can do in the moment. So self-care is what you need to bring yourself back to center and feel balanced. And I don't think it should be a last resort. So you don't want to get to the point where you're so burnt out that you can't be a nurse anymore before you decide to take care of yourself. And I think there are many little things we can do throughout our days. It doesn't have to be something big and grand, right? And I think a lot of nurses are also parents, right? And sometimes you give
Yes.
your all at work, you give your all at home, and at the end of the day, there's nothing left for you. So I posted recently about LinkedIn about how you don't have to be a super mom. You don't have to create those Instagram perfect bento box lunches that take hours to make. You don't have to make every meal from scratch. It's okay to ask for help, right? And the thing is, you something's going to give eventually, right? So you have to make sure that you have longevity because you do want to be a nurse for a long time. I'm sure nobody goes into nursing thinking they're going to quit after 5 years. Like you went to nursing school and you worked hard for a reason. So don't let that slide away. And if you are somewhere and you feel like it's toxic and you've done everything you can and nothing's changing, maybe it's time to see what other opportunities there are, either within your organization or outside of it. Maybe even taking on a new role or doing some sort of committee work. Maybe that will kind of uh, revitalize how you feel about work.
Hmm. Really, really good tips. Really, really good tips. You know, um, sometimes as nurses, we think that the things that we know or the way we process things, everybody knows it. But what's something that you wish every nurse really would know?
Oh, that's a really good question too. I think that a lot of nurses I talk to feel a certain way and they feel like they're alone. So when someone comes to me saying they feel burnt out or they are questioning whether they should be in nursing or, someone is giving them a really hard time, they feel like it's their fault. They all feel like that they're the only ones that feel this way. And I guarantee you, you're not the only one that feels that way and you are not alone. There is so much commiseration, support out there, both online and in person. I think it takes courage to say that, listen, I'm struggling and I need help. But just know that I talk to a lot of nurses daily who are feeling very similar things. And often we feel as nurses, we have to be strong and we have to be proud and we can't show our weakness. But the thing is, we're all feeling these same things. So why not? Talk together and figure out a way together to get better. So I think that that's probably one thing I would say is that feeling alone is something that is not something you have to go through, and it's okay to even do things like seek therapy, right? Like if you don't want to share, if you're afraid that what you're about to tell will get out and you don't want it to, it's okay to do things like find a therapist and talk privately to someone and get the help that you need.
It's okay to receive and get help, you know. Well,
Hmm.
sometimes
Hmm.
we're givers as nurses, but that receiving, sometimes we feel bad to receive, to take in. So that is
Hmm.
so good. Now, I never want to downplay who this podcast might reach. So what if you're talking to 100 care leaders listening to you worldwide? That you will make to them, that you can make to them, something that you can say to them.
So if anybody was listening, what would I
Did I
say
cut
to
out on
them?
you there?
A little bit.
Can you hear
You
me
can you
now?
repeat the question? Of 100 healthcare workers or leaders worldwide, I would say the number one thing they can do is so simple and so basic, and that is listen to nurses and listen to what they have to say. If you want better patient outcomes, you need to take better care of your healthcare workers, and that means ensuring that they have good working conditions, that they have the respect that they deserve, that they feel appreciated, and that they have the resources to do their job. This is not optional. I was in a conference where someone used to they came from a construction background, right? In construction, if equipment is broken, you don't work on the job site. But he said, it's funny because when I transitioned to healthcare, you guys work with broken equipment all the time. And I laugh because it's true. And so these things should not be optional. If we want to look after patients, we need to have functioning equipment. We need to have functioning staff. We need to listen to staff when they have suggestions. And these are things that I think are universal problems, and we really need to address if we want to move into the future and evolve with everything else that's evolving with tech.
Yes, this is very, very true. Listen to the front lines. You are so true.
Hmm.
Sarah, with having you have, I think, it's almost 50,000 followers on LinkedIn, and that's a platform where your voice could really be amplified. What would you like your legacy to be for
Oh,
nurse?
wow. Well, I never really set out with a specific goal on LinkedIn. I just, like I said, I found that it was the platform that I resonated the best with. And because I like written content a little bit more, I like writing out my thoughts. Everything I put on LinkedIn, honestly, are things that I want to tell my younger self, things that I wish my younger self would have known when it comes to navigating my career and, um, mental health, burnout, all of that are things that I wish I had known. So I guess what I would want is that people continue to learn from me, and I'm creating an environment which is positive. Like I think we don't need to be catty, we don't need to bully each other. I'm sort of the anti-bully. That's what I want to be. I want people to know that there's a better way to be a nurse, and you don't have to step on people to get ahead. We can all rise together. So there are so many problems in healthcare, and I call it break from top, where you just talk about the problems and not the solutions. So I would like to continue, I would like to start this movement of where, yes, we talk about problems and we acknowledge them. I like to call it the elephant in the room, but we can't have that conversation without talking about what we're going to do about it, because problems are endless and you can feel overwhelmed by all of it and the weight of all the problems. But let's talk about little solutions, things that anybody can do. And just talking about it and getting that conversation going is something that we can all do and all be a part of.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love this. This the nurses on LinkedIn is a whole different culture, and it's so amazing because I think together we're changing the culture from nurses eating their young to nurses empowering the future
Hmm.
nurses. So
Hmm.
this is wonderful. Now, just for fun, if you weren't a nurse or in healthcare, what other profession would you have done?
So when I was in high school and I was coming to the end of grade 12, I was torn between actually nursing and journalism. So we had to do this course in high school. It was called careers. And we had to take all these quizzes that would tell us what kind of profession we were cut out for. And I kept getting nursing and journalism. So I think that it's funny because now I am doing writing, right? Maybe I'm not writing full newspaper articles or magazine articles, but I'm still writing every day. And throughout my career, I have done podcasts, I've done media, I've written a book. I had a number one best-selling book called The Wisdom of Nurses that came out last year. So it's funny how things kind of have come full circle where I'm able to combine the two things that I actually wanted to do. But back then I thought it had to be either or. So if there's someone out there listening and you have two different passions that you feel can't combine themselves, maybe there's a way they can. You just have to kind of create your own opportunities.
Yes, make your own lane. I
Mhm.
love this. Now, just out of curiosity, did you ever get to do the mother baby, the labor delivery?
I did. I've never done med surge actually.
Wow.
I just started out, so I did my final placement in labor and delivery. I worked in mother baby for many years. I worked in level 3 NICU. I did pretty much everything there was to do in maternal child. And no, I've never done med surge. And I would if the opportunity came up, but I really enjoyed that world so much that I kind of never left it. And then, I moved on to home care, community care, and now entrepreneurship. So I feel like I've had maybe three main chapters so far in my career, and I don't know what the next step will look like, but I'm always open to it.
That's beautiful. Now, Sarah, I didn't ask you this before, but now that you're a nurse entrepreneur, a lot of nurses are breaking out into entrepreneurship, and it's a journey because you pivot, you learn business. Do you have any advice for any nurse entrepreneurs or nurse innovators out there?
I think that if you're passionate about something, just start small. Start by doing something on the side and see where it goes, right? Because I wouldn't want anyone to think you have to quit your full-time job to be an entrepreneur. It is a big learning curve. I think it's rewarding. I think it's worth it. But you want to start out small and test your ideas and see if it's something that you could actually provide of service to someone, and does someone actually need your service? So that's what I would suggest is just get started today. You don't want to wait till the perfect timing comes because that'll never materialize. Start small, be consistent, get the support you need, and just get started. You don't need anybody's permission, honestly. You just need to get started. And the first business may not be your business. The one I'm doing right now was not my first business. My first failed business actually was trying to be a postpartum doula. So I did learn a lot from it. It wasn't on LinkedIn at the time, but I did learn a lot. And I think it's just important to pick yourself up and keep going.
Absolutely. Such great advice. Sarah, I could ask you questions all day long. I am just so grateful of all the content that you put out there. Content, I encourage nurses to be visible because content never dies. And it's
Mhm.
just always so you never know who's going to need it or use it. So thank you so very much. Thanks for letting me pick your brain.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I will have you again. So if you're listening and you're not connected to Sarah, please connect with her, connect with me. We are here to support you. If you have any questions or you have realized that you have so much value and you want to make it visible, please connect with us and we will help support you and help you become more visible on LinkedIn because the community is just really cool. And the reason why I'm doing this is just so that we could just let you know that we're people just like you. And if we can do it, you can too. So thank you so much for joining Meet the Experts every Sunday at 4 p.m. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being here.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.